Well, after many weeks of the same old bullshit, it seems finally the house has woken up. Hey guys, Kevin here for this week of Big Brother episodes 22 through 24, and I'm so sorry that I haven't been making videos. As you guys know, I haven't made a video since Monday, and let me just basically tell you in a nutshell what happened. About, I'd say, Saturday, the point when I was reviewing Mr. Robot, right before I reviewed it when I had dinner, I ended up spilling a drink on half of my keyboard, and unfortunately, because of that, half of the keys just no longer worked. And because of that, obviously, I couldn't write titles, things like that. That's why it took so long for that Unreal review to come out, because I had to have someone. I literally had to go on my phone and type things, and it was really annoying, I have to say. So I had to wait a while, and basically what ended up happening was I had to take my computer into the Apple Store, had to wait a bunch of days, but finally my computer's fixed and everything's back to normal. So I will be catching up on everything I missed out on. So Pretty Little Liars, Mr. Robot, all that stuff that will be up. I'll be catching up on Outcast as well. Hopefully finish Stranger Things next week, and I will be watching The Get Down at some point as well. I don't know when, but I definitely will get to that. But all of those things will be up, this weekend. The only thing I watched in that time in terms of reviews, because most of the stuff I watched was stuff I don't review you guys. I'm going to review the end of the season, because, I just want to catch up to that. But the only thing I got to watch in that time was Big Brother. And I have to say, it's not mostly because it's the only thing I don't really need to think of while watching. I don't really need to say much because I can just, it's very easy to tell what's going on. I have to say that, you guys know I've been very harsh on this season, as have many, and honestly, I completely understand. There hasn't been much going on. It's been the same stuff every week. This person's in power, girl goes home. This person's in power, girl goes home. And it really seemed like, it was going to be the same stuff. But finally, when we got to the double eviction, it finally seemed like good stuff was going to happen. I have to say, this was the first week where they might actually save this season. I mean, if we're heading the direction I think we're going in, we might actually save this season. We might have a really strong finish. Bit of a rocky start, but I think we're going to have a really strong finish if we're heading the direction I think we're heading in. If we're not, then it's going to be the same old bullshit. But if are heading in a different direction than I think, which I'm going to talk about at the end of this review, then I really think we could, in fact, save this season. But let's get into this week overall, because there really is a lot to talk about. A lot happened. First of all, let's get to this HOH, because you guys know that I took so long to put up my last Big Brother review because I was watching the HOH competition very intently. I got CBS All Access, one, so I can watch the new season of Big Brother that's going to be coming on in the fall, and also Star Trek, but also so I could get the live feed, so I could see more what's going on, so I could see kind of competitions and things like that, and also so it wasn't as much of a hassle and not as much of a necessity to watch the main show, so that way I could just, see most of what was going on. But I was watching that HOH competition very intently, and I have to say that I don't think the show necessarily did as good as a job covering just how rude and, just how rude and, douchey Paulie really was during this, because the entire time when they were spinning on those discs, he was calling out people. He was saying he's going to put them on the block, trying to get people to fall, trying to distract them. I mean, I have never seen someone so distracting in my life. I'm surprised he didn't distract himself, because all he was doing was going on and on saying, oh, I'm going to, I don't want to make deals with you. I'm going to put you on the block. And, anytime someone tried to lighten someone up, he's like, I don't know. I mean, he was being so rude about it. And I honestly couldn't stand it. I honestly stopped watching. The only reason I was continuing to watch is because you get down to it, it's Zakiya and Natalie in the final four, and I'm like, all right, Zakiya or Natalie going to pull through, but unfortunately, Paulie coaxes Zakiya into falling. Very hard to watch, honestly. I mean, here's the thing with Zakiya that I just don't understand. If he doesn't like you, why do you continue to lead him on? I just don't understand it, really. I mean, I get that he's only using her, which I don't think you guys are realizing this. He's using her for sex and things like that. He has sex with her, he says 5 times, which is disgusting, but he has sex with her 5 times, and then he treats her like shit the next day. And apparently Zakiya's been someone who this has happened to her a lot. I guess she's talking on the feeds and things like that, but I mean, just have some respect for yourself. Seriously, it's real simple. I mean, just have some respect for yourself. Try to move on. Try to ally with other people. That's what I would do if I was Zakiya. You know, if you have someone that's just treating you like shit, and you're trying to be in, I get that she wants, you know, a showmance and everything, but if you have someone that's just treating you like shit and constantly beating you down, constantly playing you and making you think that you're safe and you're not, then I just, you know, switch, you know, who I'm allied with. I think that would be the best thing for Zakiya. For whatever reason, though, that's not what she does. Even though she's allied with Michelle and she knows Michelle's her closest ally, she still gravitates towards Paulie, and I just don't understand. It's one of the most perplexing things we saw this entire week, and this entire season, I haven't understood, because Zakiya seemed like she was giving me this really strong player. It really seemed like she showed her cards in the first few weeks, and then after Paulie became empowered, it kind of just faded away. All of that anticipation, all of that hoping Zakiya will pull through. I mean, I want to root for her, but I'm not going to root for someone who's just boy crazy. I'm just not going to do that, because what's there to root for? That she continues to get played by Paulie? That she wakes up? I mean, it's not going to happen. You can tell very clearly it's not going to happen. Even when we get to the end of this week, it doesn't happen, which we'll talk about, but anyways, he gets her to fall, so it's down to him, Victor, and Natalie. Those are the three that it's left up to. And literally, once Zakiya gets off and once Paulie convinces her to fall down, he goes right back down because he wanted to make sure that she didn't win the HOH. That is how, you know, that's how shallow Paulie really is. That's how, you know, that's how maniacal he is. I mean, that's straight up bullying right there. I mean, literally just waiting for her to fall down that you can just come down. I mean, it's ridiculous. First of all, I don't think Zakiya would come after Paulie. I really don't think she would. You know, she wasn't really on her radar. Even though she probably would have, she would not have done that. I think she would have just done what Paulie told her to do. So either way, I think it'd be a good thing for Paulie if Zakiya won. So I don't really know why he did that in the first place. But anyway, it's down to Natalie and Victor, and I gotta say, I felt bad for Natalie. Now, do I really appreciate all of her belly aching and complaining? No, not really. I mean, it was kind of getting annoying after a while for being like, oh, I want to see my mom, I want to see my mom, I want to see my mom. We get it. You want to see your mom. Victor wants to see his mom as well. But Victor should have been, I think, a little bit more classy here. It really does show that the one thing Victor does not have is class. And that's something I think this entire season is lacking. No one really has that class except for, say, Natalie. Natalie is someone that has class. She's someone that anything someone says, you know, just rubs off her back. She doesn't really deal with it. And, you know, she deals with it, really. She doesn't really get upset about it. She doesn't cry about it. You know, it just kind of rubs off her back like salt. And I like that. I like seeing Natalie, you know, even though people are saying these nasty things to her and things like that. No one's saying things directly to her, but she just doesn't let things really get to her, and it was kind of annoying to see her complain every 5 seconds. But really, Victor should have probably come down at some point because Natalie wasn't coming after him. Victor really didn't need it. I don't really think he was in danger. I mean, I get obviously what Davon said to him. He was worried that because of what Davon said, that could become a reality because they pretty much thought it was going to be a double eviction and everything. But, you know, Natalie, basically, she really wants to win, but basically she ends up getting really tired, so she does give it to Victor, and it's pretty much the same stuff from there. I mean, I was really pissed off. It was like, I was really rooting for Natalie. I was so ready for her to win, and then Victor ended up throwing it to him, which I do understand. I mean, after a point where you're on there for 2 hours, it's kind of ridiculous to just keep going. I get why she handed it to Victor. I really do understand her reasoning behind that, because she didn't want to get any blood in her hands. I understand that. But Natalie is someone that wants to get blood in her hands. She said that. She said, I don't want to be someone who's, you know, submissive. I don't want to be someone who gives in to guys. I want to do my own thing. I want to make a big move. And we'll talk about that a little bit later on. But Natalie really is a key character this entire week. She's basically the main reason why things are going to be boring after this week. At least, so far at least. You know, if things keep going the way they are, I think we're headed for a really strong finish. But at this point, it's pretty much the same stuff. You have Victor, but we find out that him, you know, Paulie, Corey, Paul, and James, they've created this alliance called the Executives, and it's really dumb because it's really only Paulie and Paul and Victor have their own alliance where they're this final three. But Victor really needs to think about this, because if I was Victor, I'd be worried about going into a final three with Paulie and Paul, mainly because those two have a much better chance of winning against someone like Victor than they do against someone like, then Paul has a better chance winning against Paulie. If Paul is sitting next to Victor, he's winning. That's that simple. Paul, if he sits next to any of those two, he's going to win, because Paulie's hated by most of the house, so it's probably going to be bitter jury. But if Paul's there, then he's going to win automatically. Victor, however, isn't as well spoken, he's not as articulate, and he's just really random. He doesn't really seem to have much of his own thought. He kind of just asks people what to do, and then he kind of goes along with it. Him and Corey are exactly the same way, in the sense where they kind of just go along with things. They don't have any set target. They need someone to do it for them, and that's exactly what Paulie decides to do. They come up with the idea of getting Michelle and Zakiya, which, out of everyone, is that really the main threat of the house? I mean, I don't really understand it. I get that Nicole is with the guys right now. I understand that. I know I said I know Nicole's, the main target and everything. They should have gotten her out. I get that she is the... she's with the guys right now. She's very tight with them. She's going to get played at some point, but I get that she's with them, which I think is a really bad position to be. It's kind of a good position for her, but it also allows her to sit back and not do anything, so it doesn't really make me happy that she's doing that. I get that she's trying to be safe, and I understand she's trying to play it safe, but it doesn't really make you... well-liked by most people if you're not playing the game. So I just wanted to play the game because she's really not playing the game, and it's kind of pissing me off that she's not. And you guys know how much Nicole is pissing me off, but basically, they put in Michelle and Zakiya. That's how the Sunday episode goes, and James ends up winning the care package, basically this care package, which I still hate that word, care package, but basically it is so that way he can, his care package basically gives him the power to basically annex 2 votes from that night, from Thursday's eviction, and that's exactly what he decides to do. We don't really know where his head's at, and I gotta say, I really am not liking James after this week, for a couple reasons. One, I think James is very scatter-minded. I think in some regards he's with Natalie. It seems like he is at some points. But then at some points it seems like he's with the guys. And he needs to realize that he can't really have both. I mean, I get that he is Natalie and he's really tight with her, but I think he's a lot safer with, say, Natalie than he is with the guys, because the guys are already talking about targeting James. They're actually talking about behind his back. In fact, most of the time I see on the live feed, say, like, Victor and Paulie are together, they're always talking about, we gotta target James. They really feel that James is just that 5th person that they need. They don't really think much of it, except that he's just that 5th person there. So... really, it's not a good position for James to be in, and I think he really needs to wise up, because his head clearly is not, where it should be. I would say that James is not playing a very good game right now. But let's get to Victor's nomination speech, because what a speech that was. I mean, here's the thing. I think it could have been a good speech, but it really seemed like he was just trying to replicate, say, Zach's from Big Brother 14, and Big Brother 16, and it really didn't work. I mean, I think really this just came across as him just being mad for the sake of being mad. He just wanted to leave some sort of an impact, and it was really dumb. I really was not a fan of it. I thought it was really stupid what he was saying. I get some of what he was saying to Zakiya and Michelle, that they aren't really playing the game, and that, I get that he didn't want to be like the person that's like, oh, I'm putting you up because you're a threat and you're a pawn, I want you to win POV. I get that he was trying to show no mercy. I understand that. But it just kind of made him more of a target, and I thought it was kind of dumb the way that was done. So I'm not a huge fan of Victor's speech. Just not really one of the best things to do. And especially him throwing Mardi Gras at them. I don't really understand what the point of that was, but that's pretty much everything that happens on Sunday. There's really not much to talk about, because again, it's a very repetitive week. It's pretty much the same stuff, Most of this week, I have to say, was really hard to watch, because a lot of it is Zakiya begging Paulie to save her. And Wednesday especially, you have Zakiya, she's going to Paulie, because she realizes that the only 2 allies she really has are Michelle and Paulie, but she's not so sure about Paulie. So she decides to kind of cozy up to Paulie, try to convince him to save her and everything, and he basically tells her that, look, you put me, you asked me to play POV, I will definitely save you. And that's obviously what she decides to do, which I did think was a smart move for her to choose someone like him. I do understand why she did that. I get that obviously he said, I'm going to save you, but again, he don't like you. It's that simple. He don't like you, and you need to understand that he does not like you. And I don't understand why she doesn't get that. Even when in the diary room she's saying she knows that he doesn't like her, why are you still trying to get close to him? I just don't understand it. I think the right thing to do would have been to trust, like, say, Natalie. Natalie would have been someone that would have saved Zakiya, because Natalie's been, a girl's girl since day one. She was the one that had the spy girls and everything. So I really think the smart thing to do would have been to go to Natalie, but again, she's not really a smart girl. Zakiya is a smart girl, but she's just not really focused on that right now. She's focused on clearly trying to create a showman, and it's really not working for her at all. But anyway, Paulie ends up winning the POV, which I gotta say, I really don't like the way this POV was played. I think it really should have been different. I don't like the idea of times and everything. I think this one, I get they've done before, but this one just seemed kind of unnecessary. I think because of all the veto cards that Nicole was winning, I think it should have just been, whoever gets the veto card, whoever gets the most veto cards, that person should automatically win. They shouldn't have to do the time thing, because Nicole was winning veto cards like that. I mean, it was pretty crazy. But I just don't think it was really necessary. James tearing up the house was really dumb. I don't know why he felt he needed to do that. I think that's the other thing I really can't stand about James, is that he's so focused on being America's player and feeling like we want him to do all these things. And yes, to a degree, the reason we like James is because he was funny and he was wacky and he was just fun to watch in the house. But the main reason I like James is because when push came to shove last year, he made big moves. He wanted to do something big. Now, was he always on, did he always know everything that was going on in the house? Was he always on the outs of that? No, he wasn't. I mean, a lot of times he didn't really know what was going on, but he was willing to do something big. Like, for example, when he targeted, Frank, he made sure that Frank and Bridget were nominated. He made sure that that would happen. So that's the example of the kind of person that James can be. This season, however, it just seems like his heart's not really in it. It seems like he's much more focused on being America's favorite player, and it's kind of pissing me off. Natalie's the person that's going to get him out of that, so hopefully that happens. Anyways, Paulie ends up winning the POV, and shocker, he doesn't end up saving Zakiya, which is just so dumb, honestly. I think he honestly probably should have saved her. Would have been better for his game. I get that obviously he wants to remain loyal to the guys and everything, but I just don't think it was the right thing for him to do to not save Zakiya, but he doesn't save Zakiya in the end, and that's pretty much everything that happens Wednesday. Let's go to Thursday. Well, also, we got Michelle, who constantly thinks she's going to be evicted. She keeps calling herself the worst superfan ever. It's pretty funny to watch, but let's go to Thursday's episode, because that's really what I want to talk about. Now, normally, because this episode was a double eviction, I would have talked about Sunday and Wednesday's episode, then I would have talked about Thursday's yesterday. But the reason I didn't, obviously, is because, like I said, I didn't have a computer. So the only way, that's why I'm reviewing everything that happened in Thursday night's episode now, which I have to say, Thursday night's episode, I think we can call it as kind of the savior of the season. It seems like the only thing that's going to be able to save the season. Now, was everything in Thursday night's episode the ideal episode? Oh, no, definitely. I mean, in terms of eviction, half yes, but half no. But what it did do is it definitely stirred up the house, and that's something we definitely need to see, because I don't like having this standstill where nothing is happening, where people are afraid to target each other, where people are being so nice to each other, but they don't like each other. I mean, that's just not fun Big Brother. A good Big Brother game is to target those people you don't like. Nicole, for example, clearly is not a fan of people like Michelle, or people like, people like Michelle, or someone like, say, Bridget. She's not a fan of those people. So, target them. That's the right thing to do, is to target them. And there's a lot of decisions she makes, even in last night's episode, that I just didn't really understand. But anyways, so Michelle pretty much knows that she's probably gonna go. She is the one that Paulie wants out. Paulie somehow says he saved Zakiya, yet he didn't save her. So I don't understand how he thought he saved her, because all the other guys want her out. But pretty much everyone starts to realize, hey, Paulie's kind of running the house right now. We might need to start a movement against him. Now, what the episode didn't do right is that it didn't show that Natalie and Bridget really were the co-founders of this. They were the ones that came up with this. Natalie revealed a ton of information. She revealed that she pretty much knew everything that was going on, and Natalie was the one that came up with this. It was not James. It was not Bridget. It was pretty much solely Natalie who was the one that came up with this. And this is why I really like Natalie, because here's the thing. I want to like Natalie, but I don't just want to like Natalie because she's the only good one. That's not the reason why. I want to like Natalie because she's a really good player, and she's shown her cards here. She's really shown that she is a very intelligent player, and I really was happy that she was going to be able to pull this off. The problem is James. James is the one that is kind of unreliable. You don't really know if you can rely on him, because he is the one that could fuck this entire thing up. You know, basically what ends up happening is it's Natalie, Bridget, James, Paul, and Victor. They're all on board to target Corey, Nicole, and Paulie in either the next eviction or in the double eviction, because they don't know what it's going to be. They're pretty sure it's double eviction, but they're not entirely sure. So we see that happen. But James is the big character in all this, because he's the one that needs to choose the right to votes to annex. And you don't really know what he's going to do. But in the end, he does end up counting out Paul and Corey's vote, because obviously they want Corey out. They don't want anyone to think they're working with Paul. So what ends up happening is Zakiya does end up going home, and you pretty much see that they have exposed Paulie's game, because Paulie's really not saying anything. He's not being as controlling, he's not being as submissive, and that's something you definitely do see here. And right away, even with Zakiya knowing that Paulie is the sole reason she's leaving, and that, well, he's not the sole reason, knowing that Paulie really does not like her, she still runs right up to him, gives him a hug, doesn't let him go. I mean, it's just pathetic. Honestly, it's pathetic to watch. It's ridiculous, and Zakiya is one of those people that you really wish you could just go in that house and you could just shake her and be like, come on, he doesn't like you, just do something. And am I saying that having a showmance is wrong? No, but if it's a one-sided showmance, like what's going on, because it's not even a showmance, it's literally just a fantasy in Zakiya's head, then it's really just probably the best thing to do is just shift alliances, is the best thing to do. I would have gone with Michelle and Bridget. That would have been the smart thing to do, is go Michelle, Bridget, and Natalie. And no, she didn't decide to do that, though. That's why they targeted Zakiya. They got Zakiya out successfully, and I'm like, all right, here we go. And even in the interview with Julie, she said that it's up to Paulie what he wants to do with the relationship, and I just can't stand how she's relying on Paulie. She seems to have no respect for herself whatsoever, and it's honestly really sad to see. But then we go to the double eviction, and we're thinking, okay, this is what's going to happen here. We have everything set up. Everything's in place. Paulie, Corey, or Nicole that could end up leaving. And, unfortunately, Corey ends up winning, which, whatever, Corey did end up winning. But what I love about this is it really did show how incapable Corey is of, being a competitor. It really did show how incapable he is and how he really doesn't know what the hell he's doing. Because, first of all, where the hell was this Corey? I mean, Corey has not played this game at all. He's been in this alliance, but he's done 0 to nothing in this game except being in this alliance and not even being in the alliance. He hasn't really made any moves or anything. He's kind of just gone with the house, and even when he knew that, you know, Zakiya, it was going to be people want Zakiya out, he still voted for Michelle. I just don't really understand it. But anyway, what ends up happening is he ends up winning HOH, and he goes right back to Paulie and all of them, and they're trying to figure out who to get rid of, and you can basically see they want to get rid of Bridget. I was thinking Natalie, but I was really worried that Natalie was going to get evicted. I was pulling for her to win that HOH, but she didn't. But what ends up happening is they end up putting up Michelle and Bridget, and that is when things get really good in this next part. Because essentially what ends up going down is, like I said, Michelle and Bridget are right next to each other, and Michelle just takes that opportunity to just let it all out, and she did both times. You know, the first time she exposed Paulie's game and said that she was okay with leaving because she wanted to leave, exposing Paulie's game. She is convinced that she's going to leave, and I really thought that they were going to target Michelle. That's what I was thinking. I was thinking, all right, they want Michelle out, they're probably going to target her now. But for whatever reason, it seems like they want to target Bridget. And I don't really get it. I mean, I kind of get it in the sense that Bridget... Okay, here's the only reason I get it. Because Bridget was loyal to their alliance. If you remember, they had that deal with her where they were going to make her kind of like the Victoria of the group and everything. But she kind of resigned once she went with James and Natalie, which, you know, now she's become a little bit more powerful, things like that. Near them winning POV. Corey somehow ends up winning POV again. I don't really understand it, but he obviously doesn't keep the noms the same. Michelle's convinced she's going to go home, and she doesn't. Bridget ends up leaving, and again, she doesn't have the round-trip ticket. Who the hell has the round-trip ticket? I have no idea. I honestly could care less. But Michelle ends up exposing Nicole and says that Nicole is the rat. Nicole's someone they can't trust. Ever since Jose left, that Jose was right. They can't trust Nicole, and they need to understand that they can't trust her. And if I was Nicole, you saw the look on Nicole's face. You guys all saw it. You saw it, I saw it, we all saw it. We all saw that look. Nicole was ready to sink her teeth and nail into Michelle and just go at her teeth and nail, basically. And, you could definitely see that. But for whatever reason, Nicole, being the innocent person she is and being this, really naive house guest who doesn't want to do anything, again, votes with the majority and votes for Bridget. I would have said, no, 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 no. After that, I'm voting for Michelle. Like, that would have made sense. If someone's exposing your game and someone's trying to turn people against you, fucking vote them out. It's that simple. It's not hard to do. I don't know why Nicole, is so naive about this. I don't know why this is so hard for her. It's really not hard. You just play the game. It's not hard. Michelle ends up crying because Bridget's leaving, but that is how things end. Good stuff, though. Really good stuff. I like the way things ended overall. HOH was played. I'm not going to tell you guys who the HOH is, obviously. But that's basically all there is to say, and I have to say that I'm happy. I'm happy with the way that things turned out, and I'm happy that we have people like Natalie, who is able to stir things up, who is able to at least, shake up the house, because now you have people who are very inherently against Paulie, who are very much against Nicole, who are realizing, oh, these people I've been with for these weeks, maybe I shouldn't be with them because maybe they don't have my best interest at heart. Especially Paul. Paul seemed like that he was the one that really was able to get me behind this plan. He was really the one that realized that Paulie hasn't had his best interest at heart. Even in the beginning of the week, you kind of saw that with Paul, where he said, Paulie didn't do what I wanted to do last week. Why is he doing the same thing this week? Paulie, here's the problem with Paulie, and this is why I think he's not at all like Derek. And people have compared him to Derek, but I'm going to say straight up why he's not like Derek. Because Derek made it seem like he always had everyone's best interest at heart. He always supported Cody's decisions, or he always supported Frankie's decisions. He always supported Caleb's decisions. Anyone's decisions, he always said okay. He never said no, and they always thought that maybe he was going with their decisions. That's why no one ever thought that this was Derek's plan. No one ever thought that. No one ever thought that Derek was the one behind. That's why he was never targeted, because he was so good at planning so much information and getting people to agree to things and listening to people that he didn't need to do anything. He kind of just needed to sit back and be the puppet master, basically, the one that just plants things. And Paulie, on the other hand, needs to make sure that his decision is always his decision. He always needs to do what he feels is right. He can never go with the alliance, and I think that's really the main problem. Everyone knows that Paulie's running the house, and I have to say, Paulie could end up getting evicted this week. He really could. I mean, he's really in a position now where he's not really the head of, he's not really in power right now. A lot of people are, pretty much everyone's against him except Nicole and Corey. In fact, Paulie even said the only person he feels 100% has his back is Corey, because Bridget went to him to ask him who he's most loyal to, and it was Corey. It wasn't Paul. So it seems that PP is dead, which I'm glad it is, because it was just a dumb alliance name anyway. But basically, a lot of good stuff heading forward. I really think if we get rid of Paulie or Nicole or someone like that, then I think finally things are going to, really pick up. I think finally things seem like they're going in a more faster direction. It definitely seems like this is not going to be as boring. Definitely it's not. I don't think it's going to be boring at all, really. I think it's going to be a lot more interesting to watch. Julie even said there are more pieces to the story that we don't know yet, because things happened right before eviction and we don't know what was said. I have to say, though, Paulie really did take things too far. I'll talk more about it when we get to, Sunday's coverage, things like when I talk about next week and everything. But anyways, guys, really good week overall. I really enjoyed everything that was going down. I really thought it was all very interesting. The beginning was the same old bullshit, but I gotta say, by the end, I really think that, Natalie, people like that, they're really gonna end up redeeming this season. Honestly, if Natalie keeps playing the game she is, I really think she's going to end up winning this entire thing. I really do. I think Paulie's chances are really, really lower to this point. Even if he was in that final two, the jury's going to be bitter. They know all the stuff he's been doing. They know all the stuff that Natalie just said about him. It's Natalie that said most of the stuff and exposed his game. Michelle was on board, obviously, but Natalie, has essentially reformed the Spy Girls. She wanted to do it with Michelle and Bridget, and it didn't necessarily work, but I think James could be that number 3 if he stops allying with the guys and realizing that Natalie is the stronger one, Natalie's the smarter one, and she's the one that can take him further. I think that's really the best thing to do. But anyways, guys, let me know what you guys thought this week. Love to hear your thoughts on it. I really thought this was probably the strongest week we've had so far. I really enjoyed overall, and I will see you guys in my next video, which will be for tonight's episode of Girl Meets World. And I know I have a lot to catch up on, Pretty Little Liars, Mr. Robot. I will be catching up on all those. But I want to watch Girl Meets World. I'll review that, and I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.